All right, let's get deep into the sequence here now. We're looking at seal tightly, the signature, and then finishing seal tightly. So, a number of things here. All right, let's start off with just the wrist grab and escaping the wrist grab, which is this movement right here. You come up to the wrist, you do this coil, and you pull back. So in actuality, real life, you wouldn't necessarily pull back. Of course, you wouldn't drop the hand down. Rather, you would go directly into this strike right here. So as soon as you break the wrist grab right here, this nice coil, you go directly into the strike. Okay, so one of the important things and something that I'm always striving to work on is that you don't pull back the right hand, you don't pull back the right arm necessarily, but rather the left arm goes up to the wrist. And so when it does that, you also want to put your right wrist into the left palm, the right wrist into the left palm, and you have a deep palm here. Deep palm keeps your structure and keeps you connected to your root. Up to the wrist in the palm. And notice the waist, notice the chest, notice also the spine there. So, I hope that helps. Now we're going to want to talk about the signature move here. So when Dr. Young corrects me a lot, he tells me to open up the chest here on the pullback. So here's the strike, but I'm talking about the pullback, which is an opening of the chest bow. So as soon as the grab, you break that, you pull this hand back, and he really wants this chest bow open here. A lot of times I wouldn't do that, and what happened is I dropped the hand, and the hand drops between the leg rather than outside of the right leg. So interesting distinction here. So if you pull all the way back and then you drop the hand, it drops to the outside of that right leg, compared to not opening the chest all the way and then dropping it, in which it stays on the other side of the leg here, which you'll see again, drops down here. But what's important here is watch the chest and spine there on the rise. Let's look at that closely. So the hand completely relaxes here, and the chest and the spine pull it up right here. So chest and spine open, chest and spine close right there, and they draw up the hand. You can also think of it as rooting and drawing from the earth as well, as this motion, this movement brings the hand up. And then here is a closing of the chest. And it's your choice as to how that left hand stays. So the left hand is going to be grabbing, and then that right hand is going to be striking. So you could pull that left hand back if needed. If not, you keep it there. So a lot of subtleties, a lot of nuance here in this one. I really like this. You get a nice opening and closing in the chest. You get a nice coiling with the palm as well. And then you also have here a settling of the wrist. So remember here, try not to pull that right hand back, rather the left hand goes up to the wrist. And here you have an awareness of the left hand as well. So as that right hand is having so much action and so much nuance, so many details, that left hand needs awareness too. All right, so now we're going into the lower body. We're doing Tame the Tiger stance, which is a stance that we use in Kung Fu training. So the things to keep in mind for this stance are that the feet are parallel. The feet are parallel, and as you can see, one leg is straight and then one leg is bent. So here you see the weight transition. And there's two different drills here. I started off with one, and then I moved into this drill, which I like to call the infinity drill. So again, we're just coming up, dropping in, coming up, dropping in, coming up, dropping in. You can see how I turn my head, and I'm not turning my torso yet, but I will start to turn the torso. Here, the important thing is that the hips are square. See how the hips stay square in relation to the camera here, right? To the viewer, to your eye. Now the hips start to turn. Watch, you see I start to adjust. The hips are now starting to swivel. The hips are turning, and you can see that angle. If there was a rod pointing from my hands, that rod would now start to move at an angle. Does that make sense? So you can see now the torso and the hips are not going square. They're moving out of this square angle. Now they're square. So if there was a rod pointing from my hand, it would go straight. But as we move into infinity drill, that angle then now starts to move. And that's why I call it infinity drill, because there's a figure 8 motion. Okay, so we're just dropping in to tame the tiger stance. Dropping in to tame the tiger stance. Soft knees, soft ankles. Use the breath here. Use your inhale, use your exhale. And here, now we're starting to move into infinity drill, that figure 8. It's a figure 8 essentially what you're doing with the hips. This is going to really help with building strong, flexible hips, knees, and ankles. So really important to keep the breath and try to stay relaxed in this motion here. This is where your Qigong comes in. This is where your meditation comes in. Engaging the breath, incorporating the breath, staying relaxed. So the heart is being stimulated because the muscles are being stimulated, and what we need to do is cool the heart fire with the lungs. So a little bit of Chinese medicine there. Use the lungs to cool the heart fire. Metal lungs cool the heart fire. Breathing here, soft breathing. And let that transfer into soft body, soft movement. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. And you can see here, like I'm pushing off, right here, pushing off. Okay? Now we're moving into embrace the tiger and return to the mountain upper body. So we were just going in deep into the lower body. Now we're looking at the upper body. A couple of things here I'd like you to see. Watch my back here, right here. See how the back bows? We call that pong. We call that han shou bao bei. So arch the chest. Right there. It's very subtle, and that also feeds into the closing of the chest. So we're going in from seal tightly, close the chest, bow the spine and the chest, and open them for this nice, broad, smooth movement. We're going to isolate it here in a second. Open the chest, open the spine here. Drop, release the hands, close the chest, close the spine. Open the chest here. Let those hands spread. So it's really about what you don't see. You're watching the hands, but really it's what you don't see, or what's difficult to see, which is the chest and the spine. Chest open, chest and spine close as the weight sinks. Chest and spine open, chest and spine close. Chest and spine open, and this is what's feeding the hand motion. Always remember. Now we're looking at some standing meditation. We're looking at the spectrum of stillness and movement. Stillness is the standing meditation. It is at the low spectrum of body, in which the body is not regulated, but the mind is highly regulated. And then when you have movement, the body is highly regulated and the mind can not necessarily be regulated. So we're looking at that spectrum. In Kung Fu, you would hold this movement and you'd really tire out your legs. You'd really try to push the leg strength. What we're doing here is we're just moving in and out, slowly moving in and out. So here I'm standing up, moving out, squatting down, moving in. Inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. And now the breathing is not absolute. You can always change it. So now I'm holding it. We're moving into the stillness. Kitty's hanging out, moving out of the stillness. And see how my hands are still staying arched? We call those two half moons. That gives us our pung, our round structure. Tai Chi is all about staying round, being circular, staying circular. And so the half moon of the arms gives us this structure. And when you really spend time with this movement, with this drill, start to put your awareness, put your mind into your hands, into your fingers, into your wrists. See how I keep that circular structure in the hands, wrists, and fingers? And when you get to the end, you want to freeze. Freeze and hold it. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed. That's the review this week. Taijiquan calendar series.